What's up, y'all? What's up? What's up? Happy Tuesday, everybody. Excited to be here with y'all today. I got some questions we're going to tackle in just a minute. Um, I am going to, um, yeah, get after it with y'all today. Cool. So, welcome, everybody. We are in our Real Talk Live where we are answering questions from parents about the recruiting journey. So here we are. Let me just get this going. Okay, cool. So we are in a Real Talk Live. We're talking, answering questions for coaches and parents and also athletes. Thanks so much for liking the videos, y'all. We're going to double do this between Instagram and Facebook. I have a parent Facebook group, so we always go live in here every Tuesday at 9 o'clock Eastern Time, also 6 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. So anytime between that, we do that. But we're going to answer some questions today that I got from some parents. So I wanted to go ahead and just double do this with y'all. So I got a question from a parent. I believe her athlete is a 2026 grad. And she is asking the question about travel ball. And so I want to just kind of answer the question. The question is, when it comes to travel ball games and girls wanting to be seen, if they aren't getting the playing time while a college coach is watching, that's not even the right question, y'all. Excuse me. Let me give you the right question. Is travel ball needed to be recruited for college teams, or can we focus on camps directly? So this is a really good question, and I think for where this particular athlete is, kind of plays into how I answer the question. So let's go right into this sort of concept of the question. So first and foremost, travel ball is really important because of the competition that you get by playing travel ball. So when you're playing travel ball, you're playing against athletes who are also hopefully in a competitive environment to do really well. So first and foremost, as a college coach, I'm recruiting the most competitive athletes to be in my program because my program is most likely competitive. All right. So that's number one. So I think on that regard, yes. Now, if for some reason your athlete isn't getting the opportunities on that particular travel team, my response to that is instead playing is better than being on a team that you're not playing on. So I would say like find a team where you can at least get the reps because that's going to be most important. I would say then, unfortunately, like at where we are right now, if your athlete's a 2026 grad, is there should have already been some phases that happened before we get to this particular moment. So let me give you the 4 steps of recruiting because I think that's going to be really important. If you're on my Instagram, you already saw the video, but there are 4 steps in the recruiting process. The first one is exposure. Okay. It's the ability to be identified by coaches. So for most athletes, where they struggle the most is the lack of being identified or exposed to college coaches. So when we don't have that, that's the most challenging part. Once we have that, you then begin to be evaluated by programs. Okay, so when we're in the evaluation phase, now we're thinking about they've seen who I am. Now they want to see how my skills play in the game. This is why playing on a competitive team or at least playing a travel team is really important because they are trying to find ways to evaluate you. Sometimes in a camp setting, it becomes a little bit more challenging. However, we can still figure out how to showcase ourselves in a camp. Okay, so there's that. Then once we get to the evaluation phase, we then move into the comparison phase. So once a coach feels like I know who you are, I know what your skill level is, now what I want to know is how you compare to the other athletes in my program, or not in my program, but in my radar of athletes that I'm looking for, and what are the sort of intangible things that makes me or that athlete um, stand out more than the other girl. So now we're looking at the communication, the game IQ, right? The intangible things, the base running IQ, things like that. So we're looking at that at that point. And if we decide now, as a human being, you are the best fit for our program. We then go to the step 4, which is the offer. Okay. But we have to get to the very first stage, which is exposure. So usually with travel ball teams, that's the goal. Like, how do I get my athletes in places where coaches are going to be? If your travel team, first of all, is not doing that, it's not the right travel team for you. And if they are doing that and you're not getting the experiences, I would take advantage of the showcases that come before the camps. So I know for this particular athlete, some of the tournaments that your teams are in, there are showcases usually before the events. So putting yourself in those regards would be really great. But if you're not getting the playing time, we got to start to evaluate a couple things. Number one, why am I not getting the playing time? Is it something to do with my skill set? Is it something to do with the wrong team, which it could completely be? And so then we have to figure out where can we be more valued. So I would say in this particular time, with the time crunch that this athlete has, the more chances they can to be exposed to a team or be identified by a coach is most important. So that could look like a lot of different things for you. Camps, that could look like, going directly to those camps, um, going to tournaments or guest playing with tournaments. I helped an athlete today navigate this process because she's also going through the same thing. So what I did was, she did identify a school that she really liked. So I told her to go on that school's website and see what other teams they're playing. And then I want you to kind of look at their Twitter and Instagram and see what showcases or camps they're going to. Because there are parts of tournaments that you can go to that like you don't have to play in, but you can still go to the showcases in. So that might be a better option for this particular athlete that's in 2026. It might be a better option to simply just go to the showcases for that tournament and not play with their team, because more than likely, even in some regards, there are some tournaments where I will go work a camp, but I won't stay and recruit. So in some ways, it could be a better advantage to do that versus sticking to a team and not playing in the games when it matter the most. Okay, but remember, we are evaluating competition level and how this athlete can compete against other athletes in the area. So there's just a fine balance between this decision. So I didn't straightly answer the question, but I would say there's some things you have to decide. Playing is always better than not playing on a team. So if you find a team where you can play, that's important. And then you use your resources around that to supplement the opportunity for the coach that you're looking at to see you more. Okay. So whether that's camps, showcases, things like that, that's how you kind of figure that thing out. So that's a really good question. I had another question here. I'm an athlete. How should I start reaching out to coaches for the first time as a 2029? Absolutely. So, freshmen actually have a YouTube video on this. So if you don't follow me on 360 Athlete YouTube channel, go back and watch it. I have a video for freshmen and I have a video for eighth graders. I'm working on the videos for everything else. But the answer to that is right now in this particular process, you are trying to more so measure where you are compared to other athletes nationally at your age group. So a coach cannot directly, if they're a Division 1 school or Division 2 school, they cannot directly talk to you as a player. So the way through email or through phone call. So the best ways to get those coaches to notice you and communicate with you is to strategically go to camps. Okay. So, or go to showcases. So I was at the Sparkler this weekend. I actually coached a 14U team. And in that 14U team, if we were not in that showcase, I would not be technically allowed to speak to those athletes about the recruiting process. But because we were in that showcase format, they now are able to talk to me in that format. Does that make sense? So finding opportunities like that is really important in the very beginning for two reasons. Number one reason is, again, I'm trying to get the first stage of the recruiting, which is exposure, happening. The second thing is to measure and assess where I currently am as an athlete. And then from there, how am I showing up compared to other athletes in this process at my age group? Okay. And I would say as a freshman, your goal is to play 14U in the fall, probably second year 14U. And then you should be trying your best, if you want the trajectory of playing at the highest level or Division 1 level, is to then move into like play varsity. So if you're not getting to varsity in your freshman year, it's not a negative, but that's the goal that you're shooting for. Okay, so getting to varsity, and then when you get right after your freshman year, you should be playing that more, I would say, 14U higher level, or start to play 16U right after that. So it's kind of like a balance between where your skill is, but you really want to chase sort of that, because the 16U place is where most coaches will be. All right. So great questions that we got here. I got one more I'm going to answer over here, and one more question I'm going to answer on this side. So with younger athletes that they cannot communicate with, are the generic camps reply to emails sent to everyone? Yeah. So good question. Yes, absolutely. The generic emails are a real thing. They are automatic sometimes for most schools. So, yes. So that's why I would say, if you do this in the right way, if you look at my timeline, it basically says in the eighth grade, you should be targeting a higher level, at least one or two higher level camps in your area. Okay, so when you target the camps in the area, now you're at least not spending as much money to be at that camp. And what you're also doing is, again, the two things I talked about: evaluating yourself and having self-awareness around where you are. So I would say, don't travel to many camps, like really just find the ones that are local. I would try to find a high level Division 1 school, maybe a D2 school as well. Again, because we're just in that assessment phase where you're not necessarily trying to spend a bunch of money. So most of the college camps will start at eighth grade. So you're assuming that at eighth grade is when you're doing that. If you're in seventh grade or sixth grade, you're in the developmental stage, and so keep developing. All right. So there's that. Good questions. All right. So now I have a sort of tough question that might not relate to everybody, but I think it's super valuable. So we're gonna spend some time answering the question. And just so you guys know, especially on my Instagram, I do these lives every Tuesday in my Facebook group, and I'm gonna start doing it here on Instagram because I'm getting a lot of love here, which is awesome. So I'm gonna start doing it on my Instagram at this time every Tuesday. So be on the lookout for that. Send me your questions ahead of time. I'm happy to answer them while we're on this call. But my second question that I got was somewhat around being perceived as an athlete that has an attitude, or an athlete that is misunderstood either because of their race, or because of even it's more because of their race, but maybe also because maybe they're a competitor. And so now we're trying to figure out, how do I navigate when it's not received or perceived well from the people that are around me, my other teammates, my other coaches. So I want to start with this. There are four different types of athletes, all right? There are the doers, there are the energizers, okay, or the influencers, there are the stabilizers, and there are the improvers, okay? So the way that we think about this concept is the doers and the energizers are the more out loud people. Now, one is out loud with words. That's the energizer or the influencer. And one is out loud with actions. Okay. That would be the doer. Okay. Then you have athletes who are stabilizers and improvers. They're more in the background. And the same concept. One is more influenced by relationships, and one is more influenced by getting tasks done, okay, or doing tasks or facts, okay? So every athlete is different. And what I struggle with the most in this coaching world is that most of the people who coach your athletes, even at the college level, don't have formal training to build relationships and to actually know how to coach people. And so why I kind of do all this stuff outside of being a coach is because I recognize the human aspect of this whole entire thing. Hence why my business is 360 Athlete, where we start with the human first, then the student, then the athlete. But what we have to understand sometimes is that people only know what they know, and they don't know what they don't know. So off of first impressions, oftentimes if you see me at tournaments and camps, I am very much on the doer and on the improver side. So my brain is constantly on What do I got to do? How do I got to get it done? How hard do I have to work? Those are my things. It's not on the people around me, how they see me, like the friendship part. But if you talk to me, you'll know very quickly that I'm a very much a relationship person. But you don't get that from me in the beginning. So if you see me at any of the camps, I had a call today where a couple parents go, I had two calls today where parents were like, well, she saw you at the camp, but she didn't say hi. She was really shy and really nervous. Okay. And so when they say that to me, it's a perception that people have of me. Now, unfortunately, their perception of me is not me. And so I think where we have to kind of get at is that, first of all, understand that the people who are coaching your athletes or looking to coach your athletes are very much so human beings that are very imperfect. So, first and foremost, they might not understand your athlete. And I hate for your athlete to take on the responsibility of having to teach somebody how to treat you. But that is part of this journey. Like, even when it comes to relationships and things like that, like in a lot of ways, sometimes we have to teach people how we want to be treated. And again, this is a whole nother thing. It's a lot longer of an answer than we need to have. But first and foremost, I always say that people are entitled to their opinions. And I'm going to cuss here. So I'm sorry if this is going to offend anybody. But people have a right to their opinion. And that's the truth. Like everybody can feel a certain way or whatever they want. But as a human being, we have a right to not give a fuck about their opinion. Excuse my language. Okay. And I don't mean that, to be rude. So really it becomes now, how do I be comfortable with myself knowing like exactly what I'm trying to put out to the world? Like that sometimes my hard work, focus, face is hardworking and face that like people don't understand, but it's not what they think it is. So really, we have to kind of say like, what is it that I can do body language wise without changing who I am? Maybe every now and again I gotta like give a high five or I gotta give a quick smile or something like that. But really, it's like knowing at the core who you are, knowing at the core what you bring to the table, knowing at the core what you mean by how you represent yourselves to the world, and being quite okay with that. Because here's the thing: there are people that won't see your valuable, don't see your value, but it does not mean that you are not valuable, right? And so sometimes, especially in this process, is you got to find the people that can appreciate a hardworking, serious, like hard nosed athlete. And we go after those coaches more than we try to change who we are to fit those that feel uncomfortable in our presence. Okay. And I'm going to tell you a story on a tangent because I'm working through this as well as a big Black person who is navigating this space in a softball world where I'm not the norm. Okay. And so when you're not the norm, oftentimes people make assumptions or feel intimidated by that norm. So what we have to do instead is realize that there are some people that, regardless of how we try to show up, won't see the positive or won't see what we're doing as a good thing. And then there's some people, when we shine that light, will attract the right people. So I'll give you an example. For a very long time, my wife used to get on me because I would walk down the street with her and I would be the one that would excuse myself from the sidewalk to let other people walk by because I knew that they had an impression about me where they felt unsafe or uneasy, whatever the case may be. It could be for whatever reason, Black, because I was big, whatever it is, they had an uneasy feeling about me, or I felt like they had an uneasy feeling about me. So I took that and projected that on myself and I moved out of the way. And so my wife had to kind of keep telling me, like, you deserve to take up space just like everybody else. Okay. And so as I kind of did that, what my limiting belief was, well, if people are scared of me, then they won't pick me, right? If they're not feeling who I am, then they won't like me, right? But the truth is that when you shine your light and you show up as yourself, the right people will see your light. It's like a lighthouse. And so I actually have the lighthouse analogy that moving forward, I'm going to shine my light. And that's why I'm starting to do these videos. Like, it's because you know what? Like, I'm going to stop hiding behind what I think other people feel or see. And I'm going to shine my light. And if you notice, the right people will attract themselves to me. So again, that's what I would say. It's a challenging place to be as an athlete. But I think the bigger thing is to recognize what your intentions are, okay, what your value is, what makes you successfully you, and be the best you can be, and allow everybody else to fall in love with that versus trying to be something that you're not and having to fake it for the rest of your life. All right. So again, easier, much easier said than done, but hopefully that makes sense. I got one more question just because it popped up for me. So let me go ahead and answer it and get you guys out of here. I usually only do these for about 20 minutes. So, um, what's the right way to break up with a college coach that your kid loves? Um, I like that. Yeah. Oh, that's a really, really, really good question. All right. So this is when you have an offer and we are in the situation where we're trying to figure out which offer we accept and we got to kind of break up with the coach. And I'm going to tell you, we are sad by this because we pour into, again, as that process goes, we find you, identify you, we evaluate you, we compare you, and we've made a decision to make an offer to you. So we've spent a lot of time navigating, picking you. And so when you decide like, hey, I don't want it no more, that hurts. However, it's important that you make that decision now versus get there and make your decision and transfer the transfer portal. So I think the biggest thing is be honest, have the conversation, get on the phone with them, say, hey, coach, I would love to have a conversation with you. And then in the conversation, you simply say these things like, okay, hey, coach, like, I was really kind of going back and forth on this decision. There are things that I really appreciate about where I am here with you, where I would be here with you. But there are some other things that I felt like I would really like or be able to take advantage of in another opportunity. I don't want to string you along, and I don't want you to lose the opportunity to find somebody else that will fit your program. So at this point, like I'm gonna have to remove my name from your list as a potential recruit. And again, as hard as that is, I'd rather you have that conversation with me sooner than later so I could find a new coach, all right, or a new athlete that fits my program. So that would be my advice for you on that. But again, thank you so much for tuning in. I appreciate all of your questions today. And if, as always, like DM me any questions that you might have. And from there, I will gladly answer them for you. So, thank you so much for your time, guys. I will keep putting the videos out for y'all. Send me your questions as it helps me create videos, and we'll see you soon. All right, y'all. Peace.